Talk about a crusher. Yes! Oh!
Are you kidding me?
And gone!
Welcome back to the Schoolyard Sports Podcast. I'm the host of this podcast, Lane Frank. We're now on episode 265. So 265 episodes through, and I got an action-packed episode planned for you. The World Cup final is set. We got a ton of news going on in the NBA. We got a surprising summer moves in college basketball, MLB All-Star Game coming up right now, and we got a lot more to talk about in episode 265, so stay tuned. Now, let's start episode 265, how we always do, with our headlines. And in the NBA, I'm going to preface this. This will be our shortest headlines ever, I think. We are in the dog days of summer, but there is still some news that we got to talk about later on the episode. But just for the recap of things, we've got NBA Summer League going on right now. Guys like Axel Lendeberger showing out, Merez Johnson, Darren Peterson struggling a little bit more than the number one overall pick, AJ DeBonsa, but a good Summer League so far. Kingston Fleming's a guy I like watching. Darius Acuff finding his way for the Sacramento Kings in this Summer League. Always a good thing to watch in the summer. NBA Summer League. Now in the MLB, it's the All-Star Game, and I know everybody is excited to watch it. Now, Jordan Walker won the Home Run Derby last night, and that was impressive. But yes, the All-Star Game is here. We'll see who wins it. We got Dave Roberts going up against John Schneider. A rematch of last year's World Series managers, because that's how they do it in the MLB. But yes, we have the MLB All-Star Game with our news in baseball after Jordan Walker just won the Home Run Derby. As we enter the second half of the season, we're going to see which team can do better, which players can get traded at the deadline. But yes, we're at that midway point now with the All-Star break in the MLB. Now for tennis, Jannik Sinner has won Wimbledon for the second straight year in a row. And that's all I got for you in this week's headlines. I got a lot more coming up on this episode with a lot of great analysis. There are some fun things in there as well. So stay tuned for the rest of episode 265. All right, that was a good warm-up of the headlines. Now get a little summer jog in there. But now I'm ready to give you a big take of the week. My take of the week this week is tennis needs a villain. Now, I love playing tennis. Everybody knows that. I like watching tennis too, but I did not like watching Wimbledon this year. I get it. The World Cup takes a lot of our attention away from tennis, Wimbledon, but this should be like the Masters, Wimbledon. And in most years, it is. But there is no centerpiece, no center villain to focus on. There's no real story here. You don't get that Sinner-Alcaraz rivalry when one of them is gone. And even when they're there, I mean, Sinner and Alcaraz, they do everything right. They say everything nice by each other. They're not making controversial statements. They're all cordial. Now, Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, they were too, and they battled. But at least they played. Now, Carlos Alcaraz, like I say, availability is your best ability. He couldn't provide that. Jannik Sinner, he couldn't provide that in the French Open with his injury. Wins Wimbledon this year, but that was one of the more boring finals I've ever seen. 1 versus 2 in Wimbledon final, and nobody watches it. World Cup, I get it, gets the attention, but still, that was not an intriguing match to watch, in my opinion. Jannik Sinner versus Alexander Zverev. And they need that villain tennis. Every sport has one. They certainly do. There's no trash talk. There's no beef. There's nothing on the court. There's no passion, I'm going to say, because there is no center villain tennis. The rivalries need one of those villains. Sinner versus Alcaraz certainly doesn't do it for me. Here's something I want to point out right here. Another, going away from the Sinner Alcaraz, going away from the villain arc of it all. I just think tennis as a whole right now, we have great players, but they're not as great as they used to be, in my opinion. Let's look at, and this is no shade to this guy, but maybe a little bit is. Alex de Minaur, number 5 player in the world. He gets married on Wimbledon Sunday. This is like the biggest day in tennis for the year, Wimbledon Sunday. It is your dream as a player to get to Wimbledon Sunday. He's the number 5 player in the world. He has a great chance to make the Wimbledon final. Plenty of players have done that in their career at number 5 in the world. He loses 4th round, yeah, he gets married on Wimbledon Sunday. Guarantee you that was planned before, because there was no real passion. Maybe there was passion, but there was no real thought in his mind that he could make that Wimbledon final, even though, I mean, he's the number 5 player in the world. Let's compare that to the Big 3 era. Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer. Those guys were the main event on Wimbledon Sunday. You didn't plan anything on any slam Sunday, whether it was Australia, whether it was Wimbledon, US, or Roland Garros. You didn't plan anything because you wanted to tune in and watch those guys. Like I say, it was appointment television. Now for, like Sinner and Alexander Zverev, I can skip it. I can watch a set or two. I don't have to sit there through the whole thing because I know it's not going to be a full-on battle. There's no legacy on the line, in my opinion. For those guys, for the big three, well, every match their legacy was on the line. Nobody's going to care if Sinner loses to Zverev. Zverev's going to get another Grand Slam. Sure, that might help his legacy a little bit. But down the line, we know Sinner is going to win more. We know Zverev is going to win more. We know these guys are just going to keep on flip-flopping. There's no real passion behind a rivalry like that, in my opinion. When there's no domination, there's no real, thing going on there. Because inevitably, things are going to change. Tennis is a great sport. But right now, it doesn't have great players. Just flat out. I like watching tennis still, but I think they need some more mojo in it. Let's look at 2022. Nick Kyrgios makes the Wimbledon final. Wasn't that fun? I'm not saying everybody needs to be like Kyrgios, but it's certainly fun to have a nutcase like that in the court. That was boring Wimbledon Sunday. This has been a boring year for tennis. Hopefully things can get figured out. That's my take of the week. Now, top 5. This week's top 5 is the top 5 sports movies that I love to watch. So here we go. The Schoolyard Sports Lane Frank top 5 sports movies of all time. 5. Rookie of the Year. Henry Rowan Gardner breaks his arm, goes to a Cubs game and throws the ball from the outfield to home plate and ends up being a Cubs pitcher. It's just a cool movie. You don't really get those movies as much where it's really every real team is in it. There's no made-up league in there. It's just a great movie. I would say that Major League is also a great baseball movie, but for now, I'm going to say Rookie of the Year is a little bit better. Put that at number 5. I think I got one more baseball movie on this list. Number 4, Creed 2. Now, this is fictional, of course. It's boxing, but it's still sports. I mean, just the legacy behind it. I didn't love the Rocky movies, but I do love the Creed movies. Maybe that's just because the Creed movies are my generation, but the way they tied the old Rocky generation into this, I mean, it makes it the greatest spin-off in cinema history, the Creed series. And, it wasn't the best movie, Creed 2, but I think the last fight where you're going up against Victor Drago and you're just almost, beating him to a pulp at the end of that round, you kind of start to feel bad. That was good filmmaking. That was a good sports movie. 4, Creed 2. Number 3, what about Little Big League? Great movie. Billy Haywood becomes the owner and the manager of the Minnesota Twins. Kind of gives you everybody's dream as a little kid come true through Billy Haywood. It's a good movie. And a little bit realistic, too. They didn't win the whole thing. They lost in the playoff to Ken Griffey Jr. He's in the movie as well. It's cool. 3, Little Big League. Love that one. Trivia right there. A little fun thing to throw in there. The mom in Little Big League is P. Crow Armstrong's mother in real life. Number 2, what about Creed 1? That's a great movie, of course. The Ricky Conlon fight, the way they bring in Adonis Creed as Apollo Creed's son, just the best boxing movie by far, best fighting movie, and the second best sports movie of all time. Now, number 1, it's Draft Day. I mean, being an NFL GM is the best job to have, in my opinion, outside of being a sportscaster. And to get that insight, obviously it's unrealistic. Obviously these things wouldn't happen in real life, but to get the insight of what, could go on, the twists and turns through that day, through that night of Draft Day, very exciting. So number 1, Draft Day, my favorite movie, sports movie of all time. And there's my top 5. Now, this week's Did You Know? Did you know back in 2014, when Brazil hosted the World Cup, they were, of course, one of the favorites. They made their way all the way to the semifinal and lost 7-1. Now, not only is that an embarrassing defeat at home in the semifinal, it is the largest loss ever by a World Cup host. USA didn't be out more than that. Mexico didn't. Canada didn't. Qatar didn't. No other host has been beaten badly, more or worse, than Brazil in 2014 when they lost 7-1 to Germany in the semifinals. Did you know that? Leave down in the comments. That's about for Did You Know this week. Let's talk about Conor McGregor. Now, I know everybody's pretty upset about what happened in his fight against Max Holloway. I wouldn't even call it a fight. I mean, just kind of a kickboxing match until Conor McGregor tears his ACL, if it wasn't torn already. But it did kind of put perspective into it. That was the main event for a guy who hasn't fought in 5 years, for a guy who has, about 7 losses now, I think, on his career, in a fight that ended in 1 minute. So why was it the main event? Why was it such a huge UFC event, one of the biggest they've had in a long time, and, certainly a big one in Las Vegas for Conor McGregor? It's because he's not afraid to keep swinging. Even after he loses that fight and tears his ACL, he tweets, "I'm going to come back from this. I'm going to fight again." He keeps on swinging. He's had tons of losses in his career. Khabib, Nate Diaz, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, but he gets up every time. What about that one time in 2016 when he decided to fight Floyd Mayweather, the best lightweight boxer of all time, 49-0, maybe the best boxer of all time, if you're not counting weight classes, and he ends up losing them, but he does go around 9-10 rounds with Floyd Mayweather. That was very, very impressive to see from Conor McGregor, of course, because he's not afraid to do it. Comes back 2021, ends up fighting Dustin Poirier. Loses pretty quickly, Dustin Poirier in January. He's not afraid to fire right back at it in June against Dustin Poirier 2021. Snaps his leg, gives a great post-game interview, loses both of his belts in that span, but still a great player and a great interview, of course, Conor McGregor. He's certainly had his issues. Look at New York, the incident there with the bus. Goes and fights Khabib right after that. He's able to kind of back up his trash talk by going out there and actually doing it. He's not winning every time. He didn't beat Khabib. He didn't beat Floyd Mayweather. He didn't beat Dustin Poirier those 2 times, and he definitely didn't beat Max Holloway the other night. But he's not afraid to go out there and back it up. That's why he's so entertaining. Conor McGregor will take the biggest swings of anybody in sports, in my opinion. He's going to miss most of the time now, it seems like. But when he hits, it is a home run grand slam. And even if, when he strikes out, you're still watching. So Conor McGregor, you were the spotlight for this week because that's why you are the biggest fighting superstar of all time. Not the best, but the biggest. Now, the World Cup is here. We got Argentina versus Spain in the final. We've got the best team from South America go up against the best team from Europe. And what will be one of the greatest World Cup finals of all time, because it's very rare when you get the Copa America reigning champion, Argentina, versus the Euro Cup reigning champion in Spain. Lionel Messi has his championship. He's gone out with a bang already, but he came back for this one to get another one. For the guys like Julian Alvarez, Emi Martinez, this is another just step in their legacy. Guys like Nico Paz, McAllister, Lautaro Martinez, they are the reason why Argentina got here outside of Lionel Messi, who has been the greatest striker I think we've seen in World Cup history now. Let's look at Spain. They don't play with a traditional striker. They really don't. They kind of have a balanced attack, I'd say, compared to Argentina. But Lamine Yamal certainly struggled a little bit this World Cup. Hasn't had the many goals we've seen, but he was there for that win against France. Got done there. And I think, the goalkeeper, Unai Simon, has done a great job. If he can't produce, they've got plenty of guys to back it up behind him. I am very excited to see the way this one plays out. But I do think, in an upset, Spain loses this World Cup final to Argentina, and Argentina goes back-to-back for the first time since I don't even know if it's ever happened to win back-to-back World Cup titles. For Lionel Messi, a guy who retired from international football 10 years ago, if you told him when he retired from international football 10 years ago that he would win 2 more World Cups, he wouldn't believe you. No one would believe you. But it's going to happen. Argentina beat Spain in the World Cup final in MetLife Stadium to get a second straight championship on top of the world. Now, college basketball madness in July. It is a year-round sport now, college basketball, and that is shown this summer with Dusty May leaving Michigan, and Michigan handing the keys over to Mike Boynton, former Oklahoma State, and Cade Cunningham, head coach in 2021. Got fired there, now finds his footing at Michigan, where I think, after what I've seen him do this offseason, keep basically the whole roster intact, only losing one player in LJ Kaysen. I'm excited to watch Michigan basketball in the future under Mike Boynton, and hopefully this isn't just a Jim Calhoun, Kevin Ollie kind of situation where it works for a year and then it dips off after that. I don't think that would be the case here. I'm excited to see what Coach Boynton can do. Again, only losing one player, LJ Kaysen, the point guard who tore his ACL towards the end of last season. He's in the transfer portal now where he probably won't play this season, will redshirt, come back next year. We'll see what's in store for LJ. But that isn't the only point guard news in college basketball. Here's a bombshell for you. Mario Saint-Superi is leaving Gonzaga in July to go play for Valencia in Spain. That is new college hoops. That is something I have never seen before, where a guy's leaving college basketball to go pro, an NBA-level talent, making great money in college basketball, playing for Mark Few. He was going to be Gonzaga's anchor this year, and now he's gone. He's headed off to Valencia to play in Spain. This might be more shocking than Nikola Mirotic leaving the NBA to go play in Spain, because it's always the other way around. But hey, good for Mario Saint-Superi. Maybe he got a little homesick. We'll see if he can come to the NBA one day, or if he wants to stay for Spain his whole entire career. Just a little bit college basketball madness we saw right there. Another big commitment we had this week was Marcus Spears Jr., Swagu's son, the guy you see on ESPN every day, the offensive lineman from LSU. His son was the #1 ranked recruit in 2027, reclass into my year, committing to Texas and Sean Miller, who are certainly going to be a top 10 team preseason now with the commitment of Mark Spears Jr. Last thing I got for you in college basketball, Donovan Dent, one of the greatest college basketball point guards this decade, at New Mexico and at UCLA last season, retired from basketball this year and said, you know what, this season just took too much out of me. I don't need to go be some MVP over in Europe. I don't need to be some G League player. I'm done with basketball. Now he's saying, hold on, wait. This 5-for-5 rule is pretty good. I'm going to come back to college basketball, get this 5-for-5 rule, get an injunction, and I think he's going to get it done. We'll see where Donovan Dent ends up. Maybe he ends up at Xavier playing for his old coach at New Mexico, Rick Pitino. Maybe he goes back to UCLA. I don't think that'll happen. Maybe he goes to Gonzaga. We'll see what happens with Donovan Dent. But one of the best college basketball players in the past couple of years is attempting to make a comeback. I had to break down this news in college basketball. We got a lot going on. And that's about for the madness this week. Now, the best for last question of the day. This week's question day is, are you for or against ad patches on college jerseys going forward? More and more teams are doing it. Kansas is doing it. Michigan State is doing it. Michigan might even do it soon. But are you for or against an ad patch on a jersey? I think we always see this in the NBA, starting to see a little bit in the MLB, NHL. NFL says they'll never do it. But are you for or against your college team doing it? Leave your answer in the comments. That's about for question day this week. That's about for Schoolyard Sports with Lane Frank, episode 265. Thank you for tuning in. Follow Schoolyard Sports on Instagram at Schoolyard Sports. Follow Schoolyard Sports on X at Schoolyard Sport. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review for the best sports content in the world. Be back here next week. Episode 266. Stay tuned.